a lot of people are eating a lot of junk right now. Like that's part of the stress is some people are eating at home, and so they're eating a lot healthier. But a lot of people are going and they're ordering, they're using these food ordering services, and they're just ordering junk. And of course, what you put into your body, it manifests in your strength and your integrity and your nutritional status. So if you aren't eating well, your bone's definitely going to suffer as well. Okay. One of the things that I hear commonly, people tell me, look, I'm exercising, and they're not really exercising. To build bone, to get strong bone, you need resistance. And walking is not so much a form of resistance. So keep in mind that we define walking as movement, not as a form of resistance exercise. Very important, because a lot of you are walking, but there is no resistance exercise in your life. I talk to people every week that come to see me that, they say, when we ask them about exercise, yeah, I walk all the time. And walking is not going to increase your bone density to any great degree. So again, it's not enough to restore bone health, especially if you have bone loss. So we have to think about, how can you build muscle? Remember what I said earlier? I said that bone follows Wolff's law. Wolff law, that means pressure on the bone makes it more dense. Okay, so it sends genetic, increased pressure through exercise sends genetic messages to your DNA, right, to increase the density of your bone by allowing your bone to resorb more nutrients necessary to make it thicker and denser. So Wolff's law is very important. And so if we're going to consider exercise, we can't consider walking, and really not even something like a treadmill or a recombinant bike. Now, don't get me wrong, those things can be helpful. But unless you're turning the resistance way up, so like if you're on a bike and you're just kind of coasting and you're not even breaking a sweat, you're not going to do a whole lot so much for your bone. If you're on one of those elliptical walkers and it's at the lowest setting and you're just kind of cruising through, going through the motions, it's not really going to do a whole lot for you. Now, if you crank up the resistance on those machines, again, that resistance is going to be a form, keyword, resistance exercise. So that's going to be effective. Now, some of my favorite things to do to help people reestablish good health, but also increase their bone density, are high intensity interval training workouts. So things like squats. So this is all body weight, right? So squats, push-ups, pull-ups, lunges, sit-ups. Kettlebell's not a body weight, but you don't have to swing a super heavy kettlebell. You can do a lot with a kettlebell. There are 100 exercises you can do with a kettlebell that qualify as a solid resistance exercise. Plank holds, jumping jacks, jump ropes. So if you look at this list, there's a reason why I picked these 9. It's because, minus pull-ups and minus the kettlebell and minus the jump rope, you don't need any equipment, right? You don't need any equipment to do a squat, a push-up, a pull-up, or a sit-up, a lunge, a plank, or a jumping jack. Now, these 3, you need a pull-up bar, you need, a kettlebell, and you need a jump rope. But for the cost of your monthly membership to a health club, you could probably purchase all 3 really inexpensively. So, in that regard, these are very easy things. They don't take up a lot of space or a lot of room. You can do them at home. So like many of you, again, going back to many of you are in lockdown right now, and your gyms are closed. Your gym membership has been, postponed, and you're just not taking care of yourselves. And you're thinking, well, what can I do? And this is what you can do. You can do body weight activities that don't require a lot of space, that don't require a lot of equipment, but have a lot of potential power to really help increase the cortical density and the thickness of your bone. Now, there are different patterns for exercise. So like, I'm trying to share some ideas with you tonight, because I think many people get hung up on the idea part, right? It's okay, what do I do? Do I do 10 push-ups? Do I do 5 squats? Like, what are we talking about here? One of the most powerful ways to apply this style of exercise is called a Tabata. Now, Tabata is not an exercise. Tabata is the name of a researcher who set out to discover how much exercise was necessary for people to be healthy. So what he was trying to figure out was, what's the least amount of exercise a person needed to do in order to be healthy, in order to support bone growth, muscle growth, etc. And so he wanted to know, kind of think of it like this, the minimal effective dose of exercise to get the maximum effect. And so what he discovered was it was about 8 minutes a day. And most people exercise way more than 8 minutes a day when they're going to their gym. You know, they're in there an hour and a half, like they're just on the elliptical for 30 minutes, and they're exercising way more than they need. Now, let's define exercise. So Tabata is not it's not like a style of exercise where you rest a lot. It's Tabata is broken up into two parts. It's 2 4-minute routines. And that's where you get 8 minutes. So a 4 minute, so I'm going to give you an example. Tabata is 20 seconds of work followed by 10 seconds of rest. So, and you do that for 4 minutes. So this pattern is 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest for 4 minutes. And so what exercise do? You fill in the blank. Pick any one of these things. You could do a Tabata squat exercise. You could do a Tabata push-up. So again, the premise would be, if you were going to do, let's just pick the push-up. You do 20 seconds of push-ups followed by 10 seconds of rest, and you repeat that pattern for 4 minutes. So you're basically going to go through 8 rounds of push-ups at 20 seconds. And what you'll find, if you've never done this before, first of all, it's going to make you super sore, and it's going to be a fantastic workout for you. But second of all, what you're going to find is it's a lot harder than it sounds. Most of you, maybe if you've never done this and you can't fathom a 4-minute push-up workout, but what happens is this 20 seconds of work doesn't seem like a lot, but in the reality is in the middle of this workout, this 10 seconds of rest doesn't seem like enough. And so you're putting in those push-ups, and then the rest period comes, and there's just not enough time to fully recover. And that's the magic of a Tabata, is you don't want to fully recover, because when you give yourself enough rest to fully recover, you're actually losing some of the benefit of that bone and muscle building hormone release that's going to occur as a result of doing this type of exercise. So my advice would be, if you're struggling with bone loss, or you're struggling with muscle density issues, you don't have enough muscle mass. So this is whether you have bone loss or whether you just want to try to put on some lean muscle mass, but not, again, this is not going to build Herculean size. You're not going to become Arnold Schwarzenegger doing Tabata, body weight exercises. What we're after, though, is lean body mass, because that's what prolongs lifespan, and that's what prolongs quality of life. But that's also what reduces your risk for developing a number of diseases, not just bone loss, but also diseases like cancer and heart disease and diabetes. So if you want to give yourself protection from the chronic degenerative diseases, and you're in this lockdown and your gym membership's canceled, and you're like, what am I going to do? There's nowhere to work out. You don't need space. You need like a 6x6 space to do everything on this list, and you don't really need a lot of equipment. And now you're out of excuses. You've got exercises that you can do that are relatively simple enough that anyone can do them, and you've got a pattern in which to do them with. So a 4-minute pattern of 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest, to build and strengthen your muscle, but also to build your bone. So this is an 8-minute routine. So my advice is pick that first routine should be something for your upper body. So like pick the push-up, for example. And if you can't do pull-ups, and many of you may not be able to do pull-ups, they are a little bit more of a challenging exercise. You can do pull-downs, so get you some of that stretch tubing. Again, you can get some for just a couple of dollars. It's real inexpensive. And you can wrap it around a pull-up bar, and you can do pull-downs instead of pull-ups. And those TheraBands, those resistance bands are graded for different weights. So you can buy them that are 10-pound bands or 20-pound or 30-pound bands, etc. And you can buy the weight that matches your ability, it matches your strength. The key here is stay with your fitness level. Body weight is one of the best ways to do that. So the pattern is pick an upper body exercise for the first routine and pick a lower body for the second. And that way you're not just neglecting, large muscle groups. So, and rotate it. So like if today you did a push-up and a squat, maybe tomorrow you do a kettlebell swing and a lunge. So again, you rotate your movements. You don't do the same movements every day. And these are just 9 exercise examples. There certainly are a number of different things that can be done. If you've got, light dumbbells, you can do things like shoulder presses or arm curls. The sky is the limit with this. What I'm trying to do is give you a pattern and a lack of excuses so that you can get to work on this. So when you're doing that first 4 minutes, and when you're done, you want a little rest break So you want to rest for 4 minutes in between before you pick up on that second one. So it's a 4-minute Tabata workout, a 4-minute rest, and then a 4-minute workout. And so you're done. You're largely done in 12 minutes. Now, technically, you're not fully done in 12 minutes because you probably want to warm up a little bit. You don't want to just go and start exercising on cold muscles. So you kind of want to warm up a little bit. If you've got a rebounder trampoline, that's a great way to warm up. If you've got a jump rope, that's another really good way. Just jumping rope, do 50 jump ropes, get your body loosened up and warmed up a little bit before you just jump into one of these Tabata type of routines. Because about 2 minutes into this Tabata, you're going to be screaming. But just remember when you're screaming to yourself, oh my gosh, can I keep going? It's only 4 minutes. You just have to get through that 4 minutes. So again, this is hands down, this is the number one way. If you want to rebuild bone, if you want to rebuild bone density, this is where it's at. This is better than any supplement. It's better than any formula. It's better than any product that you can take. When you combine this style of activity and exercise with good diet and good sleep and good stress management and sunshine, that's what you need the most to restore your bone. You don't need medications. A lot of people, a lot of doctors specifically want to put people on, the bisphosphonate medications, and those drugs. One of the side effects of those drugs, as I was talking about collagen earlier, they don't really make your bone stronger. They make your bone more brittle. What they do is those drugs they push more calcium into that matrix, so they're just pushing more mineral into the bone, so they're making the bone more brittle. And I've talked about this before, and you can go back and watch. If you want to watch my video, you can search it under bone loss myths. But those bisphosphonate drugs make your bone brittle, not stronger. And so it actually can increase your risk for fractures. And one of the fractures that those drugs cause are fractures of your jawline. And so there's a name for that. It's called osteonecrosis or osteonecrotic jaw. And you don't want to develop that, because if you fracture your jaw, now you can't chew your food. Remember, one of the key elements to building strong bone and healthy bone is eating good food. So you want to make sure that you're not taking, you can't fix your bone with chemicals. You can only fix it with what God gave you, which is solid food, the ability to sleep, the ability to move your body. So those are the things that you really want to focus on if you want to do well. Otherwise, you'll be sorely disappointed in the outcome. I think I was reading a couple of years ago, there was a research study published on the top 10 drugs that doctors would not take, even though they prescribed them. And bisphosphonates, the bone loss drugs, were number one on the list. Why do you think that is? It's kind of a scary thing when you think about it. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.